also you'll often see us refer to it as a B-cell ALL. And one of the things, I'll just write and then I'll talk about it. Nurse practitioner just to order something for you real quick before I forget here. So, what we know is that you have a kind of acute leukemia that's a B-cell lymphoblastic leukemia or a B-cell ALL. This is a more common kind of acute leukemia that we see in kids, but we do also see it in adults.
Oh,
and yeah, the more common acute leukemia in adults is acute myeloid leukemia or AML, but about a quarter of our acute leukemia patients, adult acute leukemia patients, end up having ALL instead.
Oh.
Now, one of the first big things that I use to sort of make a treatment decision is whether or not patients with ALL have what we call a Philadelphia chromosome or not. A Philadelphia chromosome is the nickname that we use for something called a translocation between chromosomes 9 and 22, where just randomly a little piece of a little bit of material from chromosome 9 gets swapped between a little piece of material on chromosome 22, and it results in we nickname this chromosome abnormality a Philadelphia chromosome, and it results in an abnormal gene called BCR-ABL. Now this is it's a chromosome abnormality that is seen more often in adults who have ALL than in kiddos who have ALL. And the reason it makes a difference whether or not you have it or not is because now we have drugs in the form of pills to actually target this gene abnormality.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the form of a pill. There are actually 5 of them that are approved to target this chromosome abnormality. This is the classic chromosome abnormality that we see in a kind of chronic leukemia that patients can get called chronic myeloid leukemia or CML. That's not what you have, but all these drugs that target this gene abnormality were developed to try and treat this chronic leukemia population. And then as we've sort of learned more and more about adults who have ALL, we found that about a third of patients adult patients who have ALL end up having this Philadelphia chromosome. Before the advent of these pills that target this Philadelphia chromosome and the abnormal gene it produces, this actually was a pretty poor prognosis ALL, because even with strong chemotherapy, it was hard to get people into a complete remission and hard to keep them in a complete remission. So now that we have these oral pills to target this gene, we actually are able to get the vast majority of patients into complete remission. And then the trick is keeping people in a complete remission. Right now, the standard is that we what we will do initially to try, our first order of business is to get you into complete remission, right? So that then we can talk about how we're going to keep you in complete remission. And actually, the vast majority of adults with this chromosome abnormality can achieve a complete remission, which means I do another bone marrow biopsy and I don't see any leukemia cells there, with a combination of a pill that targets this abnormal gene called dasatinib. It's given once a day. In combination with steroids are actually really, really good at killing off ALL cells. So we do that in combination with a steroid pill called dexamethasone, and we actually just do that daily for 7 days. And what we do is around the 30-day, around like 3 weeks in, approximately, somewhere between 3 or 4 weeks in, we do another bone marrow biopsy to see if we've gotten you into complete remission or not. Now with ALL, with this kind of chromosome abnormality, there are sort of 3 different levels of remission that I want to get you in. The first level is that I clear, it's sort of like a complete, I would say we can call it a hematologic remission. And all that means is I repeat a marrow and I don't see leukemia cells. The next sort of deepest level of remission is called a complete cytogenetic remission, and that's just a fancy term for I don't see the Philadelphia chromosome anymore. And the deepest level of remission is something called a complete molecular remission.
Hello, Michelle with Food Nutrition.
Come in.
Hey.
And that is just a fancy term for I don't see the abnormal gene anymore. Now, honestly, a lot of people just after the first round of after the first month of treatment, I'm going to call this complete morphologic remission instead. Honestly, a lot of people after the first sort of month of treatment with this stuff, the majority of patients, not 100%, but the majority of patients have achieved this most superficial level of remission, and some of my patients have even achieved the 2 deeper levels of remission. A lot of people ask me that, okay, well, I'm done, right? I'm in a remission, I'm in the deepest remission possible. Unfortunately, again, with this kind of ALL, we're good at getting people into a remission, but then the trick is keeping them in a complete remission. So part of what we think is necessary to keep people in a complete remission is to continue this pill and then combine it with stronger forms of IV chemotherapy. And then right now the standard is that ideally at this time we think that the odds of keeping people in a complete remission for as long as possible / curing them is likely better in Philadelphia chromosome positive ALL if we take patients and do the most aggressive thing that we can do to treat acute leukemia, which is a bone marrow or stem cell transplant. Now, we need to choose the patients we take to that most aggressive form of treatment pretty carefully. And so the risk associated with that is much, much higher than if I were to just give you like the pill with some more chemotherapy down the road. In patients who are as healthy as they could possibly be, there is a 15% chance that they may die from complications due to toxicity associated with a transplant within the first 100 days. So we have to weigh the risks and benefits. You're young, which is good, but we have to take into consideration that you have diabetes,